Hello and welcome back to the OnlyAccies channel. We're back for another month review. It's been a weird month, very middle of the road. We've won one, we've lost one, and we've drawn one. Brandon, I suppose the best way to start is, you were to rate that month out of 10, what would you give it?
10 being good, 1 being
10 being good, 1 being pish.
5.
Okay? Yeah.
5. It's not been I wouldn't say bad month. I think 5 is an alright result because we've won one. I don't think we particularly played brilliant in the game we did win, or any game we've played this month. So I think that's why I'm going with 5, because 4 out of a possible 9 is alright for Accies. If you're having more points than the games in which you played in your Accies, I usually say sort of end goal is to finish the season with more points than the amount of games you've played, i.e. 38. So we've done that this month. The circumstances we've done it, the game in which we get beat, we should have won with the circumstances. So that's why I'm going with a 5, because despite having the win, the draw and the defeat, it could have been a lot. It could have been more points, and the performances could have been better.
Yeah, and I don't really have much to add to that. I also had 5 for my ratings. Win, low, and a draw. I said that there was no major issues. There wasn't any huge moments of fear where I was like, this needs, sorted out. Rapid, very kind of middle of the road. I actually thought Livy was quite a good performance, especially through David Templeton. But yeah, 5 for me, I think is absolutely spot on.
I think a good point about this month is our defence seems a bit more stable.
Yep.
I think we're getting used to each other a bit better in defence. The defence isn't changing that much each game.
Unless
so that's a good sign for this month. Obviously, midfield and attack is constantly changing. That's obviously a bit of a worry. But I know a good bonus in my opinion is the defence is looking a bit more sturdy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and on that midfield of constantly changing, I think that's Brian Rice still doesn't know kind of fully what he's after going forward. You said the defence has pretty much been the same. It's not changed unless through necessity. So McMahon's red card and Hodgson being out. But as soon as, the red card was finished and Hodgson was back, they went straight back into that 11. So it does look as if that back 5 of Fulton, and the back 4 is going to remain the same. But yeah, the midfield and the forwards are changing. But I think that's because he doesn't have what he needs and he doesn't have what he would like. I think that he is wanting more players brought in, but it is incredibly hard, and we know what Aki's are like with signings anyway. So I think that is changing. If you were to focus on one player, so last month we picked Sean Want as our player of the month, and very much deserved. If you were to pick a player of the month for this month, who would you be?
I think it's a battle between 2 people, and I'm sure we'll probably both agree on that. I would go with Hakeem Adoffin. The sheer fact I'm going with him is because when he first signed, and I think after games in previews to games, I don't think we really expected much whatsoever from him. And he's threw that completely out the park with just his performances. More so, it's his goals as well. We've lacked a defender that has the ability to go up for set pieces. He just throws his body completely at everything, whether that's in defence and attack. I couldn't tell you the last time I saw somebody tweet, the last time we were a threat for set pieces was with Big Lucas. We've not been a threat in so long with set pieces. It's always used to be a thing with Accies. When we get a corner, or when was the last time we scored for a set piece? Me and my pals used to have that discussion all the time, because it was so long before we scored for a corner or a free kick. But his threat going forward, and not just his goals, him and Wants became a good partnership, which at the beginning of the season I would never have thought that would have been a partnership at the centre back. But in my opinion, it is pretty stable, considering how much attacks are always against us. I think you see that way Sean Wants sort of interception percentages in games and stuff like that.
Yeah.
We're constantly bombarded with attacks, so he's having to do that job there as well as the back. But my player of the month is a Dolphin.
And I wanted to ask you, talking about the partnership between Hakeem and Sean One. I'd like to get your opinion on it. I had a really interesting chat with Alistair, who was one of our fans during the month, and he's also got his own podcast, The Armchair Pundits. And he's a big Hamilton fan. And we spoke about the partnership between a Dolphin and Want. Now, when Brian Easton comes back in my opinion, he's not a left back anymore. I don't think he has the legs for it. He is a centre back, in my opinion. We were talking about when he comes back, that partnership of a Dolphin one that's been going so well. Do you break that up? Would you try and adapt the team to fit all three of them in? What would you do in that scenario?
I would adapt.
Okay.
I don't think, like we just discussed there, Rice doesn't still know his best 11, especially in the midfield and attack. In the past years, Accies have been well known for having the three centre backs with the two wing backs. It suited our style of play. Like, we're not going to say that we're the most glamorous side to watch on the eye.
Yep.
So if Easton is fit, I don't see there being that much an issue adding more stability and more reassurance to the defence by adding another centre back. And I think with Easton's experienced head and amongst a Dolphin and Want, that can only add a positive side of things. He's constantly changing the midfield and attack just now, so that gives him one less position to worry about if he adds another defender in. So that would be my... Obviously, I wouldn't break them up as in, say, take Sean Want out, put Easton... So I wouldn't do that. My personal opinion is you can work your way around it a lot of ways, but no, I think best option would be to go back to the formation which we've been known to play, add Easton into the centre of the two there, and the wing back. Sorry.
Fair enough. My player of the month, the player who got the vote, is David Templeton. And you were talking about a Dolphin scoring the goals. David Templeton, other than the goal he scored, has assisted all the rest. So he's 1 goal and 3 assists. So he's been involved in all 4 goals this month. I think I said against Dundee United, we saw moments of kind of what he was good at, but not a great performance overall. I thought Livingston was the best performance we've seen of him so far this season. I thought he was fantastic. Obviously, a goal and assist. David Templeton for me is so key to this team, and every bit of danger comes through him in some way or another. Whether he's out the left, he's out the right, or he's through the middle, he's a danger. And I spoke to Alistair actually in our fan interviews saying that our season could very much be determined by the 15 games that we get of David Templeton this season. We know he's going to have injury problems. It just happens. Let's fingers crossed he doesn't. But those games he is in, we need him to be at top form. So far he has, and so far he is leading the way with the creativity through set pieces. And you spoke before about how key set pieces are going to be this season, and how he is going to be purely based on his set piece delivery. His balls into the box from corners, free kicks are fantastic. So David Templeton, he gets my player of the month.
I think it's well known as well that he's played every game this month. That Sam had a pre-season.
Yep.
Maybe under the COVID situation is not the pre-season would have liked. He's now he started this season off quite slowly, but touch wood, the fact he's had that pre-season, he's came into this month just phenomenal. The stats don't lie what you just said there. So it could be the case that because he's had that pre-season in him, his then fitness is getting better. He's playing more games. Touch wood, he doesn't get injured, and we can get as much games out of him as possible. And long may his form continue. And fingers crossed, because he's got that sort of level of fitness now, because of the pre-season he's had, that we could keep having that sort of form for him. Definitely.
Absolutely. And we do actually have some signing news. Finally, this month. A name that I'm going to be totally honest, not a clue, which I think is the case for most Accies signings. But after doing a little bit of research, speaking to a few fans of the other team, seems going to be an interesting prospect. That is Ben Sterling, 22-year-old. He comes in as a defender. The club listed him as a defender, and Hibs released a statement saying the young defender is left. It looks as if he's primarily either a right back, a centre back, or a central defensive midfielder. I spoke to a few Hibs fans on Twitter and a few of them said he's definitely a midfielder. Apparently, he is capable in the right back and centre back role, but it looks as if kind of central defensive midfield is his primary position. He's been on loan to Arbroath and Alloa in the last 2 years. Not played a huge amount of games. I think it was 15 games in total over those 2 seasons. So that doesn't really set as a light here. But Hibs fans seem to be thinking he was a bit of a prospect. A few saying that they're a little bit confused why he was let go, but he's 22-year-old. He's desperate for first team football, and he knows that Accies can give it to him. What were your initial thoughts on Ben when you saw it come in? I'm assuming you had to look him up and do a little bit of research yourself into who he was. What are your opinions on that signing?
I'd be lying to you if I said I knew who he was.
Yeah.
I go to under 20s matches and stuff like that. I probably saw him, but I've just not knew I've saw him play games. You look when we signed Scott Martin, it's pretty much a mirror image signing. Nobody knew Scott Martin when we signed him. He was at Hibs. He was on loan at his previous 2 clubs were lower league Scottish teams. He was slightly younger when we signed him than Ben was. So I have been reading the sort of replies for Hibs fans. Some of them are a bit confused why they've let him go fully. Quite a lot of them were wanting him to go back out and loan, and I think he was linked with loan moves to championship clubs. I think Morton was one of the ones I saw he was linked with.
Interesting.
So, listen, we've got rid of Fjortov and Kieran McKenna. We've freed up some wages. I don't see Ben Sterling being on a lot of wages either. Probably exact similar to what Fjortov or Kieran McKenna was on. He's getting an opportunity. He knows what Accies can give him. If he's got that potential there, then we'd be lying to ourselves if we think we're going to bring in just unbelievable signings. It'd be good if we obviously bring in one more, maybe 2 more signings that sort of they take us aback by when we sign them, and I think there is still the opportunity for that. But I think in that area in which we've brought in, it was never going to be a big, massive signing. I think a young Scottish boy that's got potential. He's played some games, maybe not a lot. I think it's maybe one for the future rather than think he's going to get pushed straight in. So I don't see it being that bad a signing when you look into that much. Obviously, when you first see it, you're like, oh, hold me back. But it's not that bad a signing.
No.
It's a squad player. He's not on a lot of wages. He's got the potential there, so you're giving someone the possible opportunity that he was never going to get the first team football at Hibs just now. So it's a gamble, and it's a cheap gamble, so I don't see it being a bad signing.
Yeah. And what I quite liked reading his interview when he joined was saying that Gogic had a little bit to do with it, where Brian Rice phoned him up and said, we'd like to sign you, and he seemed interested, and then he spoke to Alex Gogic, who's now obviously at Hibs, and he said that Gogic couldn't speak highly enough of the club and loved his time here, so he recommended it. So it's always nice to see, I think, when format like this, and that might just be a party line. I get that. But I think it is nice to think that Gogic, if the opportunity arises for other players to come to Hamilton, he's recommending it because obviously he had such a good time here. So to me, that's a good sign. I absolutely agree. It's not a signing that's going to light up the season. Decent. I think it'll be obviously a squad player in any places. Purely based on face value, I would rather have Ben Sterling than Marcus Fjortov.
Yes, no, 100%.
So to me, that's absolutely fine. We'll just curve this into an end here. With your manager rating, arguably the most important rating we can give. Like we said, a very down the middle season. We both gave a month rating of 5. If you had to rate Brian Rice's performance, what would that be?
I think he's maybe give him a slightly less than 5 for the
Okay.
sheer fact of the circumstances in which the results have came from. I don't think his subs have been exactly. I'll go with a 4. A, a generous sort of 4 because the fact that I didn't actually see him going to be listening to the fans and play Tunde against Dundee United. So hat off to him for that one. I thought he'd have still continued with Augie and Moyo up front. So hat off to him for that one. So that's like I said, he's got 4 points out of 9. You should never, like I says in the result summary against Kelly, if you're playing any team in this league, maybe Barcelona, Rangers or Celtic, and they've got 10 men for a good part of the match, you should not be getting beat that match.
Yeah.
Never. You shouldn't even be drawing that match. You need to be winning the matches. So he's no changed that game at all. So he's won a game against Livy. I won the spectacular, but he's won the game. Made some alright changes that game. Dundee United, hats off to him. He started Tunde. He's then his first 2 subs of the match were the exact same subs I says he should make. So I was surprised they made them as well. And he's got 4 points out of 9. Not the best, not the worst. Should have beat Kilmarnock. So I'll give him a 4.
Yeah. I'm actually going to go with the same as my month rating. I'm going to give him a 5. For very much the same reasons you did. Hats off to him for listening to the fans and playing Tunde. Should have done better against Kilmarnock. I don't think that's in any doubt. The 2-1 win against Livy. Started Kyle Monroe, who got the goal, trusted a youngster, so I'm maybe giving him a little bit too much credit for there. But to me, like you said, 4 points out of 9 is not a terrible season, not a terrible month, sorry, for Hamilton. It does, of course, leave us in 10th. What I said at the end of the last fan interviews there was the bottom 5 teams are all separated just by 1 point. So 8th and 9th, which is Livingston and Motherwell, they're on 8 points, and then Hamilton, St Johnstone, St Mirren, who are bottom 3, are still all on 7. So it keeps us above them. We still have a game in hand to hopefully push further up there, but it's a very, very tight bottom of the
I
league.
think Jim Goodwin said something that anyone bar the top 4 can beat each other easily. Yeah. And I 100% agree in that. I think Rangers, Celtic, Aberdeen, Hibs, they're the top 4. And then apart from that, it's anybody can get in the top 6. Really, anybody can get relegated the way it stands just now. I said at the start of the season, I genuinely thought Livy would be one of the massive contenders, and I think that shocked a few people because I don't understand people's big thing about Livy. Livy are no bigger than us whatsoever. They probably get less crowds than us when we had crowds as well. And they had one good season, but we've been in the top flight for how many seasons now? Do you know what I mean? And when people compare Livy to us, and it makes it sound as if Livy's a much bigger club than us, I really don't understand it at all. So I knew when they lost, they were losing Dykes. They lost Wallace. The other signings they brought in didn't light up to me. They seemed like old Aki's signings, the ones they made. So I knew that they'd be down there, and I think I stick to my word. I think they'll be the ones that get relegated this year. I think obviously the transfer window is coming to an end soon, but I don't think that'll mean the end of our activity. Yeah. I think obviously Aki's always state the fact that they're known to sign free agents after the transfer window ends. So I think it is the 5th it ends, I think.
Yeah.
The 5th. So I wouldn't be too worried if we don't see signings before the 5th. Obviously, I would prefer that we made signings before the 5th. I don't know what you think about possibly bringing in new players, but I think a creative player to go with temps and a striker is what we need.
Yeah. Well, I've quite openly said that I was very wrong. At the start of the season, I said that we don't need another striker. I said we've got Augie, we've got Moyo, who both finished the season well. We've got this young Tunde, and then we've got people like David Templeton and Lewis Smith, etc. But after seeing that, I'm happy to hold my hands up and saying we need a striker without a shadow of a doubt. And I do definitely agree we need a creative player to go along with temps. Lewis Smith, I'm hoping when he comes back for injury will kind of fill that gap. but we do need somebody else, and a striker as well. So, yeah, absolutely agree. I don't think we'll see MD coming in before the 5th. If I'm being honest, I would love to, but I can't see it. I do see he's picking up some free agents though. Fingers crossed, maybe they'll pull something great out of the hat. Who knows? Who knows with Hamilton? You don't.
Yeah.
Well, listen, Brandon, thank you very much for joining us, man.
Well,
Hopefully, I will see you on Friday at the Hibs game, which is at the stadium.
yes, I'll see you then.
Smashing. I'll see you then, man. Thank you very much.
Yes.
From yesterday, I feel like I'll never know.